the things that I've done, I believe they alienate certain people, but I believe they pull actually more people closer to me.
Exactly.
And that emotional connection is actually stronger.
You are listening to the 10-4 at R4 podcast, recorded live at RE/MAX R4 2020 from the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. In this episode, we discuss
Running for office
with
Bob Tompkins
of
RE/MAX Moves
from
Greenville, South Carolina.
Now, here are your hosts, Jesse Peters and Michael Thorne.
Welcome to the 10-4 at R4 podcast. I am Michael Thorne of RE/MAX Lifestyles Realty in Langley, BC. And taking a selfie in the co-host chair is
Mr. Jesse Peters from RE/MAX Executives in Winnipeg, Canada.
And our guest in this episode is Bob Tompkins. Bob, it's a 10-minute podcast. We don't have a whole lot of time for small talk. I do love small talk with you. You're a great dude. But
he's a bad influence.
Yeah, it does say right on his card, bad influence.
You
That
are
is true.
a socialite bad influence.
I reached out to you and I said, Bob, we're going to sit down and talk on a podcast for 10 minutes. What do you want to talk about? And you sent me one title. I sent it off to Jesse. Jesse's like, yeah. And so
Well, he sent us three.
He sent us three.
And I think we gravitated towards the one that was like...
And it was basically, running a real estate business is like running for political office. That's what you wrote. All right. So let's dive into it. What do you mean by that?
So the thing that I love about this idea is that any politician that's running for office has to be always in front of the consumer or the voter. They have to be in front of that person all the time. So you see they'll pull out any sort of trick or stop to be in front of people. They spend tons of money on it because they want people to vote for them. The same thing goes for a real estate agent. You have to pull all the stops, trying to get in front of people, be face forward with your consumer.
Top of mind.
You want to be top of mind. But then also, once a politician's in office, the way he stays in top of mind is by being involved in the community, going to community events, making sure he's seen, and in a positive light too. You don't want to have the negative PR. And it's the same thing for a real estate agent, that you've got to be, out in the community, involved, doing good things so that people know who you are and that you're doing good stuff.
Couldn't agree more. We're done.
No. Here, I'm gonna put
Where's the devil's advocate on this? I totally agree.
It's right here. Here's the devil's advocate.
Okay.
To run for political office and be elected, you have to appeal to 51% of, if there's two people running, of your voters. You have to be malleable enough to be appealing to so many. In real estate, if you were meaningful to 7% of your marketplace, you would be crushing it. So you did post recently that you did get slack because in one of your videos you had your hat on backwards, and my attitude to that was like, don't want to work with that guy. So do you find that in a 2020 real estate world, not for the first time, but the first time in the last 10 years, you don't have to try to appeal to everybody. Yeah. You can do a beer video and be like, you know what? I don't like the fact that my realtor sits down and drinks beer every Saturday on video.
I think it's funny because literally what I'm talking about being a politician is so counter what my actual brand is.
Yeah.
Because I wear my hat backwards in videos and I drink beer on camera. I mean, it does alienate people.
But every alienation is a pull towards you with somebody else.
It is. And the things that I've done, I believe they alienate certain people, but I believe they pull actually more people closer to me.
Exactly.
And that emotional connection is actually stronger. And without talking about certain political figures that are in office right now, you have one in the White House that does that he does things that push people away, but then his base gets pulled stronger because of the way he acts. And it's the same, but we don't need to talk about him.
Yeah.
But in real estate, it's the same thing. Like for me, what I'm doing, it does alienate people, but it's drawing that 51% that I believe it is 51%. I'm on the majority of people that they want that agent that's actually relatable, that drinks the beer on camera, that goes and eats food because they go out to eat and they want to know what's good around town and wears the hat backwards because that's what they do on the weekends.
Sure.
And one of the things about marketing is attention first. You can't market a house. You can't market your services. You can't market your things until you have eyeballs. Now, once you have the eyeballs in their ears, Now what? Now you got to say something or have some sort of entertainment or message. But one thing you've been very good at is, hey, can I have your attention, please? And then you've got it, and now you've delivered it. And that, in the aspect of running for office, I totally agree with that. You say, hey, listen, I've got something to say. They're sitting in front of you. Now say something.
Right.
Now, let's take that a step further, because let's figure out where my 51% is, right? But the beauty of the data and your messaging is you figured out your 51. Now, how can I continue to stay top of mind and strengthen that even more? And the social data, the geo-farming, and how can we use that positively? There's so many ways that it's been used or manipulated in other ways, but there's so many great ways to utilize it in our business for a positive. So then all of a sudden, Mr. and Mrs. Seller want to meet with someone. Their time's just as valuable. They don't want to be interviewing 6 agents at the table. They've been able to see the agent who's been top of mind. You've already been interviewed for the last 18 months.
Right.
You show up, their time's valuable. They've been watching you on their time, and boom, you're rolling into the listing. The know, like, and trust is already there. Right? And that's the next amazing opportunity that you dive deep on, you know, continuously every week.
Yeah. Well, and I would say the other way that this relates to politics is, like, if you're running for office, you're not concerned with just 51% of the population. You're concerned with 51% of voters. And it's the same thing with
homeowners.
Yeah. You're not worried about getting 51% of the population.
Exactly.
You're focused on getting 51% of the people buying and selling real estate.
Correct.
And when I'm able to put out that content that's consistent in front of people that I know, like, for example, people think beer of the week, oh, you just want to drink beer on camera. It's craft beer. It costs more money. The people that aren't home buyers are likely going to the cheap bar buying Bud Light, Coors Light for $2-3 a can.
Sure.
Where I'm doing my beer of the weeks, it's $8 beers. The people going in there are more affluent in the town. They have more money to be able to spend on luxuries like craft beer. So I know that they're more than likely in the market to buy or sell a
And
home.
how often are you stopped and say, hey, have you tried this one? Or what did you think? Or I saw your review. I never thought of that one.
Yep.
How are conversations?
Dude, it happens all
happening
the time. Like, so before coming to R4, I released one on Saturday, and it was a hop cider. And I got like 3 messages on Instagram about the beer. 2 or 3 different people mentioned it in their stories that they went and tried it on like the day we posted it. They went that night, and then were tagging me on social media about it. So I mean, I see it all the time of people just they're going, they're trying the beer. That means they're watching the show, even if they don't engage. I'm seeing it on the back end. People stop me in the shop because that's where I go to drink.
And is anyone really super passionate about Budweiser? You know what I mean? Like, it's massively consumed. What you've done is you found something that other people also really care about. Now, it could be like a Rob Levy who's talking about adopt pets or save pets. That's something super passionate about. It's Jeff McLennan talking about food. It's me talking about parks and schools and that sort of stuff. It's something people are passionate about it, and when you share that passion with them, of course they get excited.
Right.
But if you were, like you say, Budweiser doesn't.
It's a filter.
Yeah, it is a filter. There's no doubt about that. You were awesome enough to be a part of Video Summit, and I think, like a politician too as well, to tie it all back together, this idea that no one speech, no one political ad, no one appearance at the local business bureau is going to help you. You are obviously known internationally for your viral content, but what sets you apart is what truly impresses me about you is your absolute consistent creation of content, not just the viral video content. And I think a lot of people see your success and mistaken it for a silver bullet, and it certainly isn't that. It's a whole lot of work.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a ton of work. I mean, I'm putting 5-6 hours a week into content creation that I'm doing on my own. That doesn't even include what I hire my videographer out for.
Sure.
So I mean, it's a lot of work, but what it does, that consistency weekly, is it built the base. That base is loyal and engaging with my page because they believe in the content that I'm putting out, like the beer.
Yep.
And that's what spearheads when I put out a video that is a parody. These people that see the stuff and already like, know, and trust me.
It's like chocolate sauce.
Yeah,
right?
and they're gonna share it too because they're like, oh, this
That's
guy
the fun stuff. I'm already into He deserves to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they share it and they love it, and then it blows up because then that gets out to a whole new audience that hasn't seen me before.
Now it's time for the R4 Rapid 4.
Before we sat down, Bob, we asked you to roll the dice 4 times. You didn't ask any questions. You rolled the dice. In Jesse's hand is 10 nonsensical, silly questions that we'd like to have answers to, numbered 1 through 10. Bob's first roll was 3, Jesse.
What is the weirdest thing you have seen in someone else's home?
Oh, man. So I don't know whose home this was because it was a showing. We went in with buyers. It was a vacant house. Nothing was in there. And I opened up the attic door, and there was an Annabelle dress, no doll, just laying at the entry to the attic.
Yeah, I'm out.
It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
You want to screw with that?
Number 4.
I didn't really want to sell this house. Number 4. If you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends and family assume you had done?
Oh, man. Oh, that's a great question because I know exactly what the answer is, and I don't want to answer it. They would automatically assume that I got like unbelievably slosh drunk
And
like passed out in a ditch
Yeah.
and got picked up.
And Frank the Tank went.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I can't
That's-
feel my face.
I know for a fact that's what they would think.
number 6.
How many chickens would it take to kill an elephant?
Oh, man. Probably. Oh, man. I'm gonna say 39.
39.
It's
How did you know?
Yeah, it was right on the money. That's
Seriously,
that's
so good.
incredible.
Is that really the number?
We didn't
Number
say how big the elephant was.
number 8.
If animals could talk, which would be the rudest?
Oh, man. If they could talk, what would be the rudest? I mean, definitely pigeons.
Ooh.
Pigeons are ass.
Tell us how you really feel, Bob.
That brings us to the end of this episode of the 10-4 at R4 podcast with our guest, Bob Tompkins. Thanks for joining us. My co-host is the gregarious
Oh.
Jesse Peters. I'm
That's
Michael
a
Thorne.
first.
We'll see you in the next one. Over and out.
That's this week's episode of the 10-4 at R4 podcast with your hosts Jesse Peters and Michael Thorne. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thank you for watching.